You are listening to Radio Miraya. Radio Miraya, your voice of peace. We lead the news with stories we use.
So I'm glad to tell you that my guest is already here with me in the studio, and we will be having a conversation. And our conversation will be on a safeguarding resource and support hub, which is RSH, has been formed here in Juba. Now, the hub, which is designed to support smaller local organizations working in the humanitarian and development sector in South Sudan, aims to support organizations in the 8 sectors to strengthen their safeguarding policy and practice against sexual exploitation, abuse, and harassment. Now, Caroline Kibos is the National Associate for the South Sudan Hub. She is also a lawyer and a human rights activist. She joins us right about now to have a conversation on this safeguarding resource and support hub. Caroline, good morning, and it's good to have you on the Miraya Breakfast Show.
Good morning, Sebit. I'm glad to be back here.
Yes, it's good to have you always. So let's talk about safeguarding. First, this safeguarding resource and support hub. How did it come into existence? Tell us about it.
Well, there has been an assessment that was carried out, and if we are all to remember, sometime back there is a case that came up with some bosses somewhere, someone of the international organization, that was found to be harassing their staff, sexually harassing their staff. So a group of people went ahead and carried out assessments, not only in South Sudan, but also in other countries. And then this one is actually through the UK aid. So they came up with an idea of having something at least to be able to build people's capacity on the subject and to help organizations to be able to create a safe environment for their staff to work in.
Now, what is safeguarding? Let's just go slow on this. When we talk about safeguarding, what do we mean exactly?
So basically, safeguarding in very simple terms is about keeping people safe from harm. But then we also know that as human beings, as much as we try to prevent certain things still happen. Then it's also about addressing the harm that is caused when the harm happens. First, it wants to prevent the harm from happening, but then it wants to address the harm when it happens. So that is basically what safeguarding is.
Yes, and why is safeguarding very important?
Well, safeguarding is very important because, we people in work environments, we need to feel safe, we need to feel equal. So it's very good, it's very important that we should safeguard in all our workplaces. In workplaces we have people that have the power, because also all these abuses or harassment or exploitation comes because of the misuse of power. We know that there are people have power in maybe their roles. For instance, the managers, they have more power than the other staff. Some people have power because of their race. Unfortunately, up to now, we have power because of maybe their sex. Because sometimes we tend to think that it's only the male who have the power, but sometimes you find that even the female can misuse their power. So it's mainly about the misuse of power. So we want to address that misuse of power. Yeah.
Okay, so let's go through. So how is this going to be done? I mean, what is needed for safeguarding?
There are a couple of things that are needed for safeguarding. First, we need to have an organizational standard. Each organization have to have their standards. But then, as much as, because different contexts differ, right? We need to have good organizational standards that are able to align with the international standards, because there are certain international standards that we have to also align with. And then we also need to have organizational culture and leadership within organizations. The culture is just like what we mean by culture, something that people practice every day, and the leadership is how to be exemplary. So the organizational culture and leadership is able to model or to give people what they should be doing and how they can behave. Then we also need to have policies, procedures, and code of conduct. So the policies are going to define the commitments that the organizations have. The procedure is going to show how this commitment will be fulfilled, and then the code of conduct is going to give us the obligations and what behavior is expected of the staff, all the staff. Then we need to have some systems of communication, learning, and development. We need to have different communication mechanisms that people will be able to be updated or to be given information because in different areas or in different workplaces there are different, as much as we all want to use emails and all that, but there are certain instances where people do not use emails. So we need to have a variety of systems or a variety of mechanisms through which information can be passed. Then on the learning bit, we need to also teach people to learn, to help them develop. Also we need to have trainings for people on such matters so that they are able to know their obligations and also to be able to fulfill their obligations. Then we need to have an integration of safeguarding in all the units. For instance, in programs, you need to integrate safeguarding in human resources, because it starts from human resources actually. What kind of people are you bringing to work? Are they people who are going to abuse or misuse their power to be able to exploit others? Are they people who are good enough? What records do they have? So that's the human resource part. Then also we have in the programming part, then we also have in the communications part. So we need that safeguarding to be integrated in all the units.
Great. Now this hub particularly is formed to prevent, but what happens, what if, sexual exploitation and harassment has already happened or occurred?
Well, first you need to speak up. Or you need to whistleblow. Sometimes we call it whistleblowing. So you have to speak up. You have to. Sometimes it's difficult for the person that has been exploited to come up and speak, but then the colleagues or anyone can be able to speak up. But the organization has to ensure that there are mechanisms that are put in place to ensure that people speak up or that people whistleblow. So these mechanisms have to be accessible to people. They have to be known. First of all, they have to be known, because there are certain times you find that there are certain things in place, but the staff also don't know about it. You find that in some of the organizations they have policies, but staff don't know about the policy. They don't know what is entailed in the policies. So we need to have mechanisms. The staff need to be aware of these mechanisms. These mechanisms have to be accessible to the staff. The staff have to be confident that when they speak up, something will be done. When you don't have confidence that something is going to be done after you speak up, you lose morale to go and speak up. So you need to be confident about it. And also these mechanisms have to ensure that they take into consideration the rights and needs and wishes of the person that the exploitation has happened to.
Great. Yeah. Yes, and before we continue, earlier on you did mention about human resources, the kind of people they employ. They should know that. We've heard on many occasions as well where people ask for favors, sexual favors before they are employed. And in this particular case where you spoke about speaking up, some people are scared because people are desperate to get jobs because of the economic situation. They're scared, if I speak up, I might lose my job and I might just go back to the streets. So exactly in all these fears that people have, how do you address it?
Well, that's why I said sometimes if it's me who had given out the sexual favor for a job and I'm scared to speak up, and you as Sebit, you know that this has happened, you can be able to speak it up on my behalf. But any decision that's going to happen
will affect you.
Will affect me, but they'll also have to consider my wish or what I want. Because at the end of it all, there is something that's called the survivor. Survivor is someone whose exploitation has happened to. There's something called the survivor-centered approach. This means that you have to consult with the survivor. Even if you don't consult, you have to put the survivor at the center of whatever you're doing. What is their wish? What is their right? And are you damaging them more? Because sometimes you do things and you damage the person more. So you have to put all that into consideration. So in our case, where sometimes people give sexual favors for jobs, it's not an isolated case, I know, but there is a way you can, because sometimes when you report, there is this anonymous reporting. Yeah, so it's always good that organizations should have such things. Then investigations should be done, and then if they get evidence, it can be acted upon.
Great. Now, particularly this South Sudan hub, now moving forward, what are some of the things that you do?
Well, not moving forward, yes, but even before what we've been doing is first we've been developing tools and resources. By tools and resources, I'm meaning like we have materials even on our website. We have tip sheets. We have call it infographics. We have at least material on safeguarding. Safeguarding is a big topic.
Yeah.
So there are different materials on some of these topics. For instance, in safe recruitment, how you can safely recruit staff. We have things on culture and leadership. We have disability inclusivity. So all this, we have these materials. And then we also, currently we are doing a mentorship program. The mentorship program is for local civil society organizations. It's a 6 months program. We put up a call for organizations and we gave them the criteria, and then we selected about 20 organizations, because you cannot have mentorship for a very large group. So we selected 20 organizations that are being mentored. We have mentors for them. We recruited also mentors. We trained mentors to be able to mentor these organizations. Each organization is assigned to a mentor because we want a close follow-up. So how they are mentored is that these organizations are given to fill in self-assessment forms to know where they are, so that we're able to know and to track where they are and how they can be helped. So through these assessments, we're able to know their priorities and where they are badly off and how we can improve them. So that is how it is.
Great.
So we have this currently in Juba, but we noticed that most of the organizations, most of the people that come to help, they think that Juba is South Sudan. We don't also want to be like this. So this is just like a pilot in Juba. It's going to end in February, yes. Then we'll move out. At least we'll have 2 more states, so that we're able to make it something wide,
to many people.
Not only Juba-based people.
If you just join us, you're listening to the Miraya Breakfast Show, of course, where the big conversation begins every morning. We are discussing about a safeguarding resource and support hub that has been formed or established here in Juba, which is to help or support smaller organizations or smaller local organizations working in the humanitarian and development sectors. My guest this morning is Caroline Kibos. She is the National Associate for the South Sudan Hub. She's a lawyer and a human rights activist. As you heard earlier from her, there's quite a lot of sexual exploitation and harassment that is taking place in organizations, in recruitment policies. All this we have heard. And yes, if you have any question that you would like to ask or any concern you would like to raise, please don't hesitate. You can share your thought with us, because if you have been seeing this, you're scared, you don't know how it can be addressed, please, she is the expert here with us in the studio. You can as well ask your questions how the South Sudan Hub can come in and help. So let's take our first caller in this particular segment. Good morning.
Good morning, William.
Yes, welcome. Your name, please, and where are you calling from?
It's me, Jacob from Gudele.
Jacob from Gudele. Jacob, go ahead with your comment or question.
Yes, thank you very much. I'm welcome to get in the studio. I have just one question, because we have a problem of this one we see in our community. And another organization are working like that. They work illegally for using the people like that, because they make a mistake. But if you talk, then your work should be what? Should be determined, and you will not be going to work again. Now, if those people continue like that, what is the punishment? As someone working in an organization or the head of an organization and make a mistake, what is the punishment of that? Two, what other information if this thing happens to the community, like those working in the villages, they will not accept this information and they have kept quiet. If the mistake happens to air, they think that if they raise this information, then they become as a victim of this one. What the information get them? That's the information.
All right. Thank you so much for talking to us this morning here. And we give a chance to our guest in the studio. He's particularly concerned about giving information and you be victimized and sometimes lose your job. How can it be addressed? And he's saying also for those who are doing this, what kind of punishment, if caught, should they face?
Well, the punishment is legal, if you have the evidence, because, legally you cannot punish someone without approving them to have committed the crime. So that's why we normally advise that people should carry out investigations. And I also got something from what he said, that what if it's like the head of the organization?
Yeah.
Because, when unfortunately that sometimes we think that the executive directors, as we call them here, that's the last, that's the final voice, yeah? But we forget that there is a board of directors that is supposed to do oversight. So, and then the procedure is that we should have within organizations, as much as we have an executive director, we should have a safeguarding focal person that we're able to report to all these cases. So now if the case involves someone in that big managerial post like the executive director, so this case should be referred to the board to deal with it. But then we still can have a loophole whereby in our context that the board is actually hired and fired by the executive director.
Yeah,
right?
we've seen that.
Yes, we've seen that. So now what we can resort to is going to the authorities. If you have evidence, you can go to the national or to authorities, you can report to police and all that, and then the law will take its hand. Now there it's out of you cannot determine the punishment, but it will be determined by the law. And then safeguarding in or sexual exploitation amongst community members. This also happens and it's also covered under this. That's why we need to have mass awareness of community members and beneficiaries to tell them that it is not right that someone exploits you because they have power or because they are carrying out a program in your community, and you think that if you don't give in to their demands, they are going to cut out that program. So we need to have that mass awareness. We need to have also complaint mechanisms for community members to be able to report such cases, something that they are comfortable with, because we cannot demand that they have they report through emails or through phone calls. That doesn't work out in our context, in our communities. So we need to have channels that community members can be able to report such cases, something that they also trust. So, and the best way we can do that is to actually consult with them to see what best fits them to report these cases, so that we are able to realize. And then when these cases report also, it doesn't only end at reporting. We need to handle these cases well as they come, and then we need to do something about them so that they also don't lose confidence in the system.
All right. You can talk to us this morning. Our lines are still open. And yes, our guest is here in the studio. We are discussing about the practices or safeguarding policies and practices against sexual exploitation, abuse, and harassment. And this is as South Sudan Hub is established, which is a part of a UK aid-funded program called the Safeguarding Resource and Support Hub. You can talk to us this morning here. Our guest is with us in the studio and can answer you. Good morning.
Yes, how is Sebit William?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm fine.
Yeah, this is your name, please?
It's the Santos Fiye.
Munufiye?
Santos Fiye.
Santos Fiye, marhabek Santos. Wasil gidam musaraka bitak to alim.
أول حاجة أنا بدي أقول شكرا للبرنامج. أنا بس بدي أتكلم فوقه. أنا أصل عليه الدفن بتاعنا على الفيديو جاي الفيديو. وقال خلي الناس لازم ما بقدر بنوم كلامات بتاع جنبه زمان حاجات كده. لكن أنت بقولوا هذا في كثير مرات قاتل في الكوميونتي بتاعنا في هنا. لكن لما انت بوصله ريبورت بتاعته بودي جدا ما في اصلا ذات دي تك انت بيشيلوا كلمات دي تبودي للناس مسؤولين على بقدر باين كلمات فورناس دي لكن ما في رجاء اللي تبلغوا حقيقه اللي بعملوا لزول اللي عملوا له حاجه كده زي ده الزول اللي ممكن نابوه ولا يعملوا له.
So ita brafi police mun buer letter sunu in most cases this sunu mun buer letter.
Because here actually أنا بدون إسقاط أنا ما أسيله في بوليس لكن في منظمات علوم دي خاص بسيكل بروجرام زي ده هم يقولون إسقاط لو كان حاجات زي ده ليه كلنا بقدر بيشيلوا إيش ده أنا بدارك لهم هنا تماما اللي كانوا وصل ما إيش ده لهم هنا يعني ما في أي حاجة نتيجة أنا لسيكل زي ده اللي يقولوا حقيقة بتوع سنو بارو so أنا اللي قولون سمعت ده أنا عنده كيسز ده كتير أنا جي ريبورت لكن ما في أي حاجة تانية أكشن على من جيتك، تاينو.
كده ورلنا وايد example من cases ألتا كان report لكن ما سلو أي حاجة فوق ده. ورلنا وايد best example.
Yes. في حاجة كان زي رافين كيس أنا كان شيلو أنا ودي في مكتب. لكن يعني زي زول زي report ده أنا كان شيلو ودي هناك. الناس ICRC ومن كانوا وري لنا قال لنا ده ومن بقدر بتاخد responsibility بتاع الكلام ده لكن
في النهاية بتزمن ما في عادة أنا من كان تيجي أكثر فوق بس الدنيا ده شيلو أنا ودينا ومن بس وديلو دواء لما وديلو دواء ما في أي حاجة أنا لما الدنيا ده إن شاء الله سنبشيلو كلام ده في أكشن ما في حاجة أنا في ورا بتو.
شكرا كاليس ماموسارة بتاعك سانتوس من كنا ودي فرصة توالي لديوتنا في studios and come on back to the job later. Yes, Caroline, what will you respond to Santos?
شكرا سانتوس. أنا بس إجابة أنا كان قرأ كنغالي safeguarding أنا جونس كلام تو دي حاجة اللي حاصل في مكتب في environmental تشغل زي boss gi take advantage ta zolal ogishtangal mo magali rapping okay بعد مرات بيوصل لحد في rapping لكن بعد مرات سلا عشان ما وصل في رابينج لكن ده حاجة إذا كان ما دير كده حاصل لكن عشان تدير شغل ده تقدر تستمر في شغل تاكي يا تسيبه نسا تاكي قال كده نميتا ما بوس أو ما أي دولة تفكر قالي قادر ساعدتا في محل الشغل وكلام ألتا قونس ده directly under GBV لكن كمان أنا بيكون أنا قولي له advice قالي أي منظمات تانين جيجا لكن إذا كون كمان دير كده كون فاهم منظمات دي قادر ساعدة تكون في شنو عشان منظمة شالا كان قال شيلو كيس تاكي منظمة دي ما قادر أعمل حاجات تانية على كيف قانون دي قاملو عسى دي في تجارك دي منظمة دي أو فكر قالوا ساعدوا عشان هو دي اللي بناء دي دوايات عشان يساعدوا بناء دي من عيانات وبيكون من حمل وحاجات تانية زي دي طريقة دي في قدرة منظمة دي أي لكن حاجات تانية دي كده شيلو في بوليس كمان لكن عشان إننا كمان تعرفوا في كالتشر تلنا جنوب السودان إن في ناس تانيين قالي كان جينا تومن أن نحبو ومن ما قال كده شيلو في بوليس عشان كيف جا وصل لناس تانيين وجينا دي بعدين ما جا جوزو دي حاجات اللي حاصل في كوميونيتي تلنا لكن أنا قالي كان دي ونص قالي حاجات تانيين دي في مساعدة المنظمة قادر ودي لي تامو لكن في تاني دي كمان منظمة قادر عشان سالا كانت ودي لمنظمة هناك ومن ما قادر تاجي دي ومن ياما ناس تقانون عشان من قادر نادي زول دي وقادر ودي لزول لي punishment so حاجات تاني دي كمان كنا نعرفو دي أتو مساعدة منو قادر ودي لنا.
شكرا كاليس and yes فرصة لك ليسا أسانتا بوينيس منا في برنامج تناتا Miraya Breakfast Show. Yes, good morning.
Good morning to you, sir. Thank you. You are speaking to Ayul Maled in Malakal Town.
Ayul, you're welcome. Please go ahead with your comment or question.
Okay. The comment is, or the questions, in fact, most of the people who are committing gender-based violence now in the society, these are men. And what is the reason why they are committing gender-based violence? They are committing gender-based violence because they are in a different situations. Most of them they are faced by economic situations. Stress. Yes. For instance, when you are stressed, it lets you to commit something which is not good. Second to it, most of the young people now they have involved themselves in a drug abuse. That one also lets them to commit sexual harassment to females.
And let me first direct you here. Particularly what we're discussing about is safeguarding environment, especially at workplace where your bosses might want to take advantage of you and sexually exploit you or harass you because they are the bosses, because they have power. So this is particularly what we're discussing about.
Yes, it's true. That might be true. Most of the managers, especially when they are working with the females, yes, they get advantage. But the question is, what is the mean that that one can come to an end? To my guest in the studio, what can you tell to the people who are working in the high positions, especially in the humanitarian sector or in the government position, so that to minimize this use of power?
All right.
To the people like the females.
Thank you. Thank you so much for talking to us. Yes, Caroline, how will you respond to him? How can we bring all this to an end?
We need to conduct mass awareness to everyone, because sometimes people are taken advantage of. They think they have no other option. So we need to inform these people that no, there are other options. You don't need to just give in because you think there is no other option. And we also need, because some of our cultures don't think that certain things should be reported. I have an example of someone that was sexually exploited, and she reported. actually herself, she reported to a colleague. And because they were working together, so the colleague thought he could take it up and try and help her out. And they agreed like that. So even before the colleague could do anything, this lady talks to her aunt or to one of her relatives, I think.
About it.
And this one, in her elderly position, she said, no, you cannot take this further. How? This is your boss. This is actually good. Der kasurubet tuali.
What?
Yes. You see, so sometimes it's also our cultures, and we need to try and come out
and address them. Okay.
From this cultural bit. Yeah.
All right.
I wanted to, before the callers cut me short, I wanted to tell this our listeners what else we do apart from having resources and a mentorship program. We have regular webinars for those with internet. We can we normally have regular webinars on different topics on safeguarding. We hold them almost monthly. We get a topic and we discuss way forward and all that. We also have roundtable discussions with different civil society organizations. We've so far held roundtable discussions in Juba, Torit, and in WOW. We also engage with different stakeholders at not only the civil society organizations, but also with internationals. We engage with them too also, because these people give in money and they also have a stake. So you engage with them to forge a way forward to be able to minimize safeguarding in South Sudan. We also have quarterly newsletters. Our newsletters, everyone knows a newsletter, so we publish them quarterly, both in English and in Arabic. For those who want to get our newsletters, you can log into southsudan.safeguarding-support-hub.org/South Sudan/newsletter. You will get our newsletter.
You can say that again.
southsudan.safeguarding-support-hub.org/South Sudan/newsletter.
Right. And I believe you're also on social media platforms where you can reach
you'll
out.
get the Safeguarding Support Hub in Twitter, LinkedIn, even on Facebook.
All right.
We have online trainings. We've so far had 5 modules. You can just go to our website and you get the training. Oh, sorry, I didn't give the website. It's southsudan.safeguarding-support-hub.org. That's our website. So you can log into the website. You will get all the modules there. So you'll start, if you go to module 1, they'll give you the module, you go through, and then you'll have a test. And then you can actually mark yourself afterwards. And then you see how you've scored so that you're able.
Okay.
Then we also have Ask an Expert service. This is for people who have direct questions and they want help, or they want help with developing certain things, so they can ask an expert. We have, I'm the first point of contact. I'll be the first one. So if that thing I cannot be able to maybe answer it, we have other experts that we can be able to share with, because we have a directory of service providers where we have consultants and experts, especially on safeguarding, to be able to help that. So for those who want to use our Ask an Expert service, you can email askanexpertsouthsudan@rshub.org.uk.
Okay. You can say that email address again, please.
Ask an Expert southsudan@rshub.org.uk.
All right, you've had all the platforms there where you can reach out for some experts' advice if you, of course, face yourself in some situation that you like to handle and you don't know how to go about it. Good morning.
Sebit William, good morning. You are connected with James Dor in University of Juba.
James Dor, University of Juba here. Welcome, James.
Yeah, thank you. I would like to begin with the comment, Sebit William. You know, the well is now a maiden well where some safeguarding the workers need to be enforced in the offices. For example, we have a CCTV camera that can protect you or safeguard the workers in the working place, because it can be pointed in any corner of the offices or any other venue of where people used to meet for working places. This is one to be restored so that it safeguards the well or secure the environment for the workers not to be exploited by their bosses. 2, we need also to restrict communication. For example, now we have this technical world that you record the voice of the person, okay? If your boss wants to exploit you and you are fearing to report him or her, you need to record his or her voice. Then you will be having now accurate report that you are going to the people who should help you in that point of you being harassed or being used as a tool of you maintaining your job. This is another point of you to protect yourself. If boss want to chase you out of the work, you say, okay, the boss told me this by then, and I record this, or a boy record that I was given. But now, with this not in place, what can we do so that we restore this based on the technical or modern world techniques of how to protect our workers not to be exploited or used as a tool of protecting their job when you use them for sexual intercourse.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much for talking to us this morning here. Caroline, how will you respond to those suggestions and a question as well?
I like the suggestions, although there might still be some loopholes. You know, human beings are human beings.
Yeah.
Installing CCTV cameras is good, but unfortunately, this exploitation actually doesn't happen inside the office.
The workplace.
Yes.
Exactly.
They can call you out. You get for a meeting. So, for instance, your boss can just come and tell you, Caroline, we are going for a meeting. You see? And then we are moving out of the CCTV cameras, right? That's where it will happen. Yes. Part of the evidence, when you're going to gather evidence, it's very important if you would have maybe recordings.
Yeah.
But sometimes these things are so unexpected that you're not even prepared. You're not mentally prepared to start recording. You will only have this in mind when you've prepared yourself to go and start recording. Or sometimes you think it's just an innocent conversation and it doesn't come to your head that you should record it. You get?
Yeah.
So yes, these suggestions are good and they can help in evidence or in building up evidence, yes. But I don't think that they will totally prevent it out. Because I think it's just a state of mind that someone has decided to misuse their power or to just, because, you know, we just want to feel that we are powerful and to impose our power on people.
So it's more of changing our mindset than actually physical evidence.
Exactly. So it's mostly the mindset that we need to deal with here.
All right. You can talk to us still this morning here. We have a few minutes that we can give and take phone calls. Remember, we can take 2 to 3 phone calls. The numbers are 0921902950 or 0921902079, and you can definitely be live this morning here on the Miraya Breakfast Show, or you can share your thought with us using our text message line. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, welcome.
My name is Franco Sebit. I'm calling from
Franco Sebit, you're calling from? Jebel Market. Jebel area, rather, sorry. Welcome, Franco.
I have a one question.
Yes.
طبعا مننا اخونا كده طبعا شغال في منظمات. هذا الله يجزاه. قال منظمات من 4 سنين بس بانتي هناك. وهو من الاهداف بتاعت 2013 طبعا المنظمات كله طلع برا من وهو جاي زي كده. فزول وقفوا من الشغل ما عنده حقوق بتاعه، عنده قريب 4 سنين. هل الله يجزاه، هل بزول بيستحق حق بتاعه ولا لا؟ لا ناس بقى تعبان، بمشي مكتب العمل ما في ريزولف، بمشي القضائيه ما في ريزولف، بمشي اليو ان دي بي ما في ريزولف. حتى لو هو تعبان مع عيال بتاعه وما في حل.
وزول ده ماله طلع برا في الشغل.
ما هو طلع برا من زمن اليو ان دي بي، من طبعا زمن تاع يونيفرسيتي ستيت، هو شغال كان درايفر. عيال من اصل الكراسي بتاع كانتو ده طبعا هو طبعا كله طلع بقى من يونيفرسيتي ستيت. يعني يلا من ده ما والناس دي زول جرى في معاد بتوعه، كل زول جرى في معاد، ومن جاينا قال له خلاص هو موجود في الشغل. يا هو مشكله.
Well, أنا ما متأكد ده topic أنا قوي شيني في برنامج هسا، لكن we'll probably ask Caroline how she would like to respond to that.
Yes, شكرا فرانكو. ده حس ده ما جزء من حاجات اللي قاعدين نكلم فوقه حس ده، لكن حاجة لنا بيكون بيساعد بيك ده قال عشان بعد مرات حاجات زي ده بيجي لكن ما عندنا إثبات أو ما عندنا information كله، عشان كده أنا ما بقدر نساعدك. لكن كان في فرصة عشان تلقى لك محامي وتقول له حاجات ده كله أخوك ده عشان يتكلم مع محامي عشان محامي ده بيعرف كيف عشان يساعده. عشان بعد مرات هم قاعدين يقول لنا حاجات لكن the actual sense is something different. So
because at the end of the day also the kind of contract he had before as the driver.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He should get a lawyer to look through the contract. أخوك ده كان عنده contract حقه ده يمشي معه لمحامي تلقى لكم محامي عشان محامي ده يقدر يساعدكم.
All right, let's take one caller this morning here. Hello, good morning. Your name and where you calling from?
Good morning, Sebit William. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Welcome. Your name?
This is Santino.
Santino Madud from Mia Saba. Santino, what question or comments do you have for us this morning?
Yes, me, I have a question.
Go ahead.
You know, this issue has been run as a big problem for our young ladies, especially those who are becoming a job. You find...
Oh, I'm afraid we have lost Santino Madud, probably in the network or airtime. And Caroline, I think that's the time we have right now for our conversation. I wish we can continue taking more calls. But yes, just before we end this, what are some of the messages you like to send out there, or what could you like to tell us your final remarks?
My final remarks is I want to tell everyone that we shouldn't be afraid or we shouldn't shy away from this topic of safeguarding, because it can happen to anyone at any time. It doesn't matter the organization. We shouldn't think this is only something that happens in local organizations. Even in these international organizations, safeguarding happens. If you can remember the Oxfam saga, that's an international organization, but still safeguarding happened. So we as local organizations, we should not shy away, or we should not think this thing is only within our realm, but it's something that happens everywhere. And then we need to ensure that at least we need to have trainings on safeguarding with our staff. We should have maybe if we cannot afford, at least once a year we should have trainings to educate ourselves on safeguarding and how we can all protect ourselves and prevent safeguarding. We should also not forget our beneficiaries or those people, those areas in which we conduct our programs, because they will also face exploitation by some of our staff. So we need to be able to consider them and to also educate them. And finally, we need to own up to our mistakes. If one of our staff is seen to have perpetrated sexual exploitation against any of the staff or any of the community members, we need to take action so that we build a good reputation for our organizations.
Caroline Kibos, thank you so much for coming to Miraya Studios. We always do appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Sebit, for having me.
Thank you. And yes, with that, we come to the end of the Miraya Breakfast Show for this Wednesday morning. Catch us tomorrow, of course, Thursday, same time, same program, same radio station. I've been with you, Sebit William. Bye-bye for now, and do have a very, very lovely day and lovely week, of course.